Hello everybody, good to be back here to another video, and this one is going to be on the CTAF that is now formally and officially launched into VATPAC. So basically this is a continuation of the trial that would have already started from VATSIM America, went on to Canada, Mexico, as well as the Caribbean. So this is now into Australia, and we'll talk a little bit more about it as well as the procedures in this video here. Just see on Unicom and the difference between Unicom and CTAF, as well as AWOS. So we see here when CTAF started, it started as a trial, which was 1st of March actually in 2024. And they actually spoke about quite a few things here, which obviously they're going to say what is CTAF, so that you have a little bit of an understanding, what's the difference in terms of Unicom. And I think that's very important, which we're going to take a little bit of a look at. Pretty much everything that we possibly can cover. All right, so the first thing here, we're going to say we look at the common traffic advisory frequency, and that's what CTAF means here. So as you can see in that nutshell, it's talking about advisories, and pretty much if you're giving advisories, or you basically letting other aircrafts pilots and them know where you are, what you're doing, your intentions, and all of this sort of thing. Now here, which is very important as well, it says also non-towed or uncontrolled pilot controlled airports. Right, so basically extending not just beyond the smaller airports, but even the big airports which cover the entire of America. Now with that being said, it also extended onto the Caribbean, Mexico and Canada, I believe. Right, firstly, let's go on to a very popular website called SkyVector, which is where most people obviously would go on to see some charts or some information about any aerodrome airport. So if we look at, for example, see here, let's say KRKS, which is Rock Springs, and clicking on Rock Springs, let's just open up. Now we could get a little bit of information here. If we go to the vector or the VFR charts here, gives us a little bit of information here, which you can see here. And all right, so we see it as an AWOS 118.375. I'm going on to Google AWOS, and as it says here, automated weather observation system. So we can see it's slightly different than CTAF. CTAF, which would be a common traffic advisory, whereas this one is a automated weather observation. So I guess when you're coming in, you can get some information onto about the, in terms of the weather and stuff. So unless you have some information, generally if you don't have the weather at some of the airports, you would fly to the airport and then look at the windsock and then fly the appropriate procedure to the airport. Going on to VATPAC now. You'll see they will have said, it's implemented at VATPAC. It's now the second actually in Australia, but the first at where I am right now. And it says here the common traffic advisory frequency has officially launched at VATPAC, following its continued rollout across VATSIM regions. Alright, so these are the regions as well. So not just Australia in terms of VATPAC, not just Australia, but Papua New Guinea and the Pacific. On my previous video, I've shown some of the airport, the different regions, I believe, of where it also covers. And there is an in-depth video, training video, which they actually showcased on their YouTube channel. So you can have a look at that. So one thing I've also noticed is that they have a key here, which is a command, sorry. You put .ctaf command in any of the pilot clients, and it will actually let you know what frequencies to basically get the CTAF on. All right, so that's something you're going to put in and then get those frequencies. All right, so going on to initially when America, you could see here, you could go on the charts, which is my favorite, which is the FAA or NAV chart. So I see here for Rock Springs, call it, and then see here, so they have a Unicom frequency here. All right, so the CTAF is actually on the Unicom frequency in this case here, which is basically as a Unicom, you basically reporting traffic or your position and stuff on the ground. So you are traffic, you're taxiing or wherever you're taxiing to, and information like that, then you give information so at least they know what you're doing on the ground. Whereas CTAF would be advisories when you're in the air, if you're doing a left downwind, right downwind, all this sort of thing coming into land. Right, so the difference you could see here on this one here, we have a tower frequency, we don't have a AWOS or the Unicom. So you go to tower 118.3, and then that you will be basically letting all the traffic around know what are you doing. There's an actual altitude which I did research, because I think previously some people probably didn't know when to, including myself at one point, when to actually tune in on to CTAF. Let's say the example within 10 to 15 nautical miles or 5 to 8 minutes of the airport. So most times you'll end up probably out. Most times you'll end up going on tower frequency as long as you're very close to the airport or within the vicinity. Traffic may not hear you, because sometimes you might not always fully know, but as long as you tune in onto the frequency and then you saying your intentions, anybody within those areas, at least once you get within the area, it should hear you, because it's now CTAF in terms of VATPAC. Okay, so we're now in Australia. Just looking at one of the airports here. Let's click on this one, which is Brisbane West. All right, going on to the sector file, and let me see, does it have any information? So you see one, actually Oakley, when I say the tower frequency 120.1. All right, so you can get a little bit of information here. Another one, tower 118.3. Ooh, taking a little bit of time to load. All right, so there is some tower frequencies here which you could use for the CTAF, and I do believe they have some other types of frequencies you can also use. But somebody did ask previously, what if an airport doesn't have a tower frequency? What do you do? Do you still tune in? You tune in on Unicom, but then you just say your intentions, and in terms of, so at least traffic on the ground, because they wouldn't have actual CTAF frequency to go on. For example, any of these traffic here, airports here, wouldn't have an actual frequency to go on. So you just, the default Unicom 122.8, and then you say your intentions, and then whoever is on the frequency or within those areas would actually still hear you on the frequency. So looking at above here, we see it says if ground is online but tower is not, the aerodrome is effective as an uncontrolled aerodrome. Right, so you will be on Unicom 122.8 if ground is not online, but if ground is online, then you tune in onto the ground frequency, which would be the frequency where you advise intentions, taxi and stuff like that, what you're doing when you're on the ground. But once you pass the ground, they're no longer in charge of the taxiway anymore, the runway. So you now have to tune in to Unicom if the tower if tower is not online, and that airport does not have a CTAF, then you still have to tune in onto Unicom 122.8. However, if it does have a CTAF frequency, as in like a tower, then you tune in onto that tower frequency even if tower is not online, and then you give your advisories on tower frequency within the distance, as I said, 10 to 15, and you should be able to, or traffic should be able to hear your intentions. As long as you're coming in very close, someone will definitely hear your intentions on the frequency. All right, so that's all I have for you guys today, and good to see that CTAF is extending to all the countries so we can have some real world experience. So good to see that CTAF is now getting into Australia, or is in Australia now, and now you can actually tune in onto those frequencies and report, or basically make a report on your intentions. So that would be really nice that it's into Australia. So once again, thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Thank you.